I kissed another woman 3 weeks after my wife told me she was pregnant with our second child. I need you to understand that. Not to forgive it. Not to soften it. Just to understand that I'm the kind of person who did that. Who looked at his pregnant wife, sleeping peacefully after another exhausting day of growing our daughter while raising our son, and thought I deserved more. Her name was Madison. She worked in marketing at the firm where I just made junior partner. 26 years old, bright smile, laughed at my jokes in meetings. My wife Sarah was 34, same as me, and she'd been tired lately. Really tired. Morning sickness had her up at all hours, and our 4-year-old son Tyler had just started preschool, which meant constant colds and meltdowns. Sarah would fall asleep on the couch by 8 p.m. most nights, and I'd sit there scrolling my phone, feeling invisible. Madison saw me. That's what I told myself, anyway. She'd stay late at the office. We'd grab drinks after closing a big account. Just networking, I told Sarah. Building relationships with the team. She believed me because she trusted me. Because in 9 years together, I'd never given her a reason not to. The first time I held Madison's hand was in my car after our third work dinner. She'd had 2 glasses of wine. I'd had 3. She said something about how her boyfriend didn't understand her ambition, and I said something about how Sarah had changed since becoming a mom, and we both knew what we were doing. We were building permission structures. Brick by brick, lie by lie. I kissed her that night. Told myself it was just a kiss. Just a moment of weakness. It wouldn't happen again. It happened again 6 more times over the next month. Sarah found out because I'm an idiot who kept texting Madison from the family iPad that synced with my phone. Tyler was playing a game one afternoon when a message from Maddie with a heart emoji popped up saying can't stop thinking about last night. Sarah asked me about it calmly. So calmly. She sat me down after Tyler went to bed and said, "Who's Maddie?" And I could have lied. I should have lied better. But I was so tired of lying, and some sick part of me wanted her to know. Wanted the decision taken out of my hands. So I told her everything. I watched my wife of 7 years, together for 9, crumble. Not cry. Crumble. Like a building imploding from the inside. She put her hand on her stomach, on our daughter growing inside her, and said, "You did this while I was pregnant?" I had no answer. There is no answer to the. I watched my wife of 7 years, together for 9, crumble. Not cry. Crumble. Like a building imploding from the inside. She put her hand on her stomach, on our daughter growing inside her, and said, "You did this while I was pregnant?" I had no answer. There is no answer to that. She asked me to leave that night. Told me to pack a bag and stay at my mom's. Tyler heard us arguing and came downstairs crying, asking why Daddy was leaving. I tried to hug him, but Sarah stepped between us and said, "Not right now." The look on my son's face, confusion, fear, the first crack in his sense of safety, that's something I'll carry forever. I drove to my mom's house at 11 p.m., called her from the driveway, and when she opened the door, I broke down. Told her everything. She listened in silence, her face unreadable, and then she said something that changed everything. "Your father did the same thing to me." I stared at her. "My father died when I was 5. Car accident." That's what she'd told me my entire life. We'd visited his grave. I'd left flowers on Father's Day. I'd grown up with this hole in my chest where a dad should have been. "Mom, what are you talking about?" She looked at me with something like pity. Or disgust. I still can't tell which. "Your father isn't dead," she said. "He left us for another woman when you were 5. Married her. Started a new family. He lives in Riverside. He's been there this whole time." The room tilted. 29 years of my life rewritten in a single sentence. "You told me he was dead." It was easier than explaining that he chose them over us. Over you. I couldn't breathe. "Where is he?" "I want to see him." "Why? So he can break your heart again?" She shook her head. "You need to focus on fixing your own family. Don't become him." But I couldn't let it go. That night, while my mom slept, I started searching. Social media, public records, anything. It took me 4 hours, but I found him. David Chen. Lives in Riverside, California. 58 years old. Married to Patricia Chan. 3 kids, my half-siblings, ages 27, 24, and 21. There were photos. Birthday parties. Graduations. Vacations to Disneyland. A whole life. A whole family. Without me. I looked just like him. Same eyes, same jawline. How had no one ever noticed? I drove to Riverside the next morning without telling anyone. Pulled up to the address I'd found and sat in my car for an hour, watching the house. A normal suburban home. A trampoline in the backyard. A dog. And then he walked out to get the mail. My father. Alive. Gray hair now, reading glasses, a slight limp. Very much not dead. I got out of the car and walked up to him. My legs felt like someone else was controlling them. David Chen? He looked up, startled. And I watched recognition flash across his face. Fear. Guilt. The same expression I'd seen on my own face in the mirror when Sarah confronted me. Do I know you? He asked, but his voice cracked. I'm your son. From your first marriage. The one you abandoned when I was 5. He went pale. Dropped the mail. How did you find me? Does it matter? My voice was shaking. You've been alive this whole time? You let me think you were dead? Your mother told you that? He looked stricken. I tried to stay in contact. She wouldn't let me see you. Said it would be easier for you to think I was gone. Don't you dare blame her. You left. You started a whole new family. I made mistakes. I was young and stupid and selfish. He stepped toward me, and I stepped back. I wanted to reach out so many times, but your mother said if I contacted you, she'd move and I'd never find you again. I was a coward. A woman appeared in the doorway. Patricia. His wife. David? Who is that? He closed his eyes. This is my son. From before. I watched her face change. She knew. She'd always known. And she'd helped him build this life while I'd spent 29 years mourning a ghost. You need to leave, she said coldly. You can't just show up here. You're right, I said. I can't. But he could have. Any time in the last 29 years. I turned and walked back to my car. David called after me, wait. Please. Can we talk? I didn't turn around. I got in my car and drove away, tears blurring the road, and all I could think was, I'm just like him. I did to Sarah and Tyler and our unborn daughter exactly what he did to me and Mom. I didn't just cheat on my wife. I became my father. When I got back to my mom's house, there were 17 missed calls from Sarah's liar. The divorce papers arrived the next morning, and tucked in the envelope was a note from Sarah in her familiar handwriting. Tyler asked me today if you stopped loving us. I didn't know what to tell him. I guess your father figured that out too. The divorce papers sat on my mom's kitchen table for 3 days before I could bring myself to open them. Sarah wasn't messing around. Full custody of Tyler, primary custody of our daughter once she was born, child support, division of assets, and a restraining order that kept me 500 feet away from our house except for supervised visitation. I was allowed to see my son for 4 hours every Saturday at a court-approved facility with a social worker present. 4 hours. With a stranger watching us. That's what I'd reduced my relationship with my son to. The first visit destroyed me. Tyler wouldn't look at me. He sat in the corner of the sterile room playing with blocks, and when I tried to sit next to him, he moved away. The social worker, a kind-faced woman named Angela, whispered, give him time. He's processing. Tyler, buddy, I miss you so much. He looked up at me with eyes exactly like Sarah's and said, Mommy cries every night. She thinks I don't hear, but I do. I felt something inside me shatter all over again. I'm so sorry, buddy. Daddy made a really big mistake. Did you stop loving us? There it was. The question Sarah couldn't answer. The question that would haunt him for years. Maybe forever. No. Never. I love you and Mommy more than anything. Then why did you leave? How do you explain betrayal to a 4-year-old? How do you tell your son that you were selfish and weak and threw away everything that mattered for something that meant nothing? Sometimes grown-ups make really bad choices, and I made the worst choice I could make. But I never stopped loving you. He went back to his blocks. Didn't speak to me for the rest of the visit. When I left, I sat in my car and called Madison. I don't know why. Maybe I needed someone to tell me I wasn't a monster. Maybe I needed to hear that what we had was worth something. She answered on the 4th ring. Hey, this really isn't a good time. My wife is divorcing me. My son won't talk to me. Silence. Then, I'm sorry, but I think we should stop talking. My boyfriend found out about us, and he's really upset. I need to focus on fixing that. You're going back to him? It's complicated. Look, what we had was fun, but it wasn't. I didn't think it would blow up your whole life. I feel terrible. She felt terrible. This woman who'd helped me destroy my family felt terrible. So that's it? You're just done? I think that's best. I'm sorry. I really am. She hung up. And I realized I'd given up everything for someone who'd never intended to stay. I started driving. No destination. Just driving. And somehow I ended up back in Riverside, parked outside my father's house again. This time when I knocked, David answered. He looked exhausted, older than he had 3 days ago. I didn't think you'd come back. I didn't either. I shoved my hands in my pockets. Can we talk? He nodded and stepped outside, closing the door behind him. We walked to a park down the street in silence. He sat on a bench, and after a moment, I sat too. Your mother called me, he said quietly. Told me what you did. What happened with your wife? Of course she did. Mom had always been good at twisting the knife. So you know I'm just like you. No. He shook his head. You're getting the chance I never got. Your son is young enough that you can still fix this. You can still be his father. He won't even look at me. Then you keep showing up. Every visitation. Every birthday. Every moment they'll let you. You fight for it. His voice cracked. I didn't fight for you. I let your mother push me away, and I told myself it was for the best. That you were better off without me. But that was just cowardice dressed up as nobility. Why didn't you try harder? Why didn't you come for me? He was quiet for a long time. Because I was ashamed. Because every time I thought about facing you, I saw your mother's face when I told her I was leaving. I saw what I'd done. And I couldn't stand it. So I built a new life and pretended the old one never existed. Did it work? Pretending? No. He looked at me, and his eyes were wet. Not a single day went by that I didn't think about you. Wonder what you looked like. What kind of person you'd become. But I was too much of a coward to find out. We sat there as the sun started to set, two men who'd made the same terrible choice separated by 29 years. I have other kids, he finally said. You're half-siblings. They don't know about you. Patricia never wanted them to know I had a son from before. That must be convenient for you. He flinched. It's not. It's a lie I've been living for 3 decades. Every family photo, every holiday, there's this ghost at the table. You. The son I threw away. Then tell them. Tell them they have a brother. I will. I should have years ago. He turned to me. Will you? Would you want to meet them? I thought about Tyler, about how I'd destroyed his sense of family, about my unborn daughter who would grow up barely knowing me, about the wreckage I'd created. I don't know. Maybe. Someday. He nodded. Pulled out his phone. This is my number. If you ever want to talk. Or meet them. Or just. I don't know. I'm here. I won't run away again. I took the number but didn't call him. Not that day, not the next week. I went to therapy instead. Court mandated at first, then by choice. Dr. Morrison was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who didn't let me wallow in self-pity. You want to know why you did it? She asked during our 3rd session. Yes. Because you're human. Because you felt neglected and instead of communicating with your wife, you looked for validation elsewhere. Because you were selfish. There's no mystery here. You made a choice. Now you have to live with it. How do I fix it? You don't. Not completely. You can't unbreak what you broke. But you can stop breaking things. You can become someone your son will want to know when he's older. You can be present for your daughter from day one. You can do the work. The work. Everyone kept talking about the work like it was some concrete thing I could check off a list. The work was showing up to every supervised visitation even when Tyler ignored me. The work was paying child support on time and not complaining about it. The work was going to therapy twice a week. The work was sitting with the guilt and shame without numbing it with alcohol or hookups or empty distractions. The work was brutal. Sarah gave birth to our daughter in December. Lily Rose. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. I found out 3 days later when Sarah's mom texted me a photo with the message, your daughter. In case you care. I drove to the hospital even though I wasn't supposed to. Stood outside the maternity ward staring through the window at all the new fathers holding their babies. Sarah's brother saw me and came out. You need to leave, man. I just want to see her. Please. Sarah doesn't want you here. You lost that right. She's my daughter. Then you should have thought about that before you decided your coworker was more important than your family. He stepped closer. Do you have any idea what you did to Sarah? She had a panic attack so bad during labor they thought something was wrong with the baby. She kept crying for you even though she hates you. You broke her. I left before security came. Sat in my car and looked at the photo of Lily for hours. She had Sarah's nose. My eyes. A whole perfect person I'd never get to know. When I got back to my mom's house, there was an envelope on my bed. Inside was a letter from Sarah. The first communication I'd had from her directly in months. You can apply for visitation rights with Lily when she's 6 months old. The court will decide if you're stable enough. Until then, stay away from us. Tyler is in therapy because of you. He has nightmares that I'm going to leave too. Do you understand what you've done? You didn't just cheat. You destroyed our son's ability to trust that the people who love him will stay. I hope it was worth it. It wasn't. God, it wasn't. I called David that night. He answered on the first ring, like he'd been waiting. I need to know something, I said. Do your other kids know what you did? Do they know you left me? I told them. Last week. I told them everything. How did they take it? Not well. My youngest won't speak to me. My oldest wants to meet you. My middle daughter asked why I was such a coward. He laughed bitterly. She's not wrong. I don't know if I want to meet them. I don't know if I can handle more family drama right now. I understand. The offer stands. Whenever you're ready. We talked for 2 hours. About his marriage to Patricia. About how he justified his choices. About how he'd watched me from a distance over the years. He'd been at my high school graduation, standing in the back. He'd driven by my wedding venue the day I married Sarah but couldn't bring himself to go in. I've been a ghost in your life, he said. And you're becoming a ghost in your kids' lives. Don't do that. Please. Break the cycle. But I didn't know how. The supervised visitations with Tyler weren't getting better. He'd started calling me by my first name instead of Dad. When I asked him to stop, he said, Mommy says you're not acting like a dad right now, so I shouldn't call you that. Sarah was turning him against me. That's what I told myself. That's what I wanted to believe. But the truth was simpler and more painful. Tyler was just being honest. I wasn't acting like a dad. Dads show up. Dads stay. Dads don't blow up their families for a coworker who dumps them the second things get complicated. I saw Madison one more time. Ran into her at a coffee shop near the office. She was with her boyfriend, laughing at something on his phone. She saw me and her face went pale. She whispered something to him, and they left quickly. Destroyed my life for 60 seconds of awkwardness in a coffee shop. The final hearing for the divorce was in February. Sarah looked thin, tired, but resolute. She didn't look at me once. The judge granted her everything she'd asked for. I was ordered to pay child support, granted supervised visitation with Tyler 1 day a week, and told I could petition for visitation with Lily when she turned 6 months old. As we left the courthouse, I tried to talk to Sarah. Please, can we just talk for a minute? She finally looked at me. Really looked at me. And what I saw in her eyes wasn't anger. It was nothing. I'd become nothing to her. There's nothing to say. You made your choice. Now I live with it. She walked away, and I stood there watching the only woman I'd ever loved disappear into a crowd of strangers. That night, I called David again. I wanted to meet them. Your kids. My siblings. Really? Yeah. If they'll see me. I need to understand how you built something after destroying everything. I need to know if it's possible. I'll set it up. We met at a restaurant the following week. David's oldest son Marcus, 27, looked like a younger version of our father. His middle daughter Jasmine, 24, had Patricia's features. The youngest, Emma, 21, didn't come. It was the most awkward meal of my life. Marcus asked me about my job. Jasmine asked about Tyler and Lily. Neither of them asked about what David had done, about the family he'd abandoned. We danced around it for an hour until finally Marcus said, Look, this is weird for all of us. Dad was a ghost to you. You're a ghost to us. I don't know what we're supposed to do with this. Neither do I admitted. Are you angry at him? Jasmine asked. Yes. No. I don't know. I'm angry at myself. And he's an easy target because he did the same thing I did. Do you hate us? Marcus asked quietly. For having what you didn't? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to tell him that seeing their family photos, their happy memories, their whole intact childhood had eaten me alive. But I looked at him, at my brother, and realized he wasn't my enemy. He was just a kid who'd grown up with a father who'd been running from ghosts. No, I don't hate you. We met a few more times after that. It didn't fix anything, but it felt like something. Like a bridge being built across 29 years of silence. But the bridge to my own kids was crumbling faster than I could repair it. Tyler stopped coming to visitation in March. Sarah's lawyer sent a formal letter stating that forcing him to visit was causing significant emotional distress and that Tyler had specifically requested not to see me. He was 5 years old and he'd already decided I wasn't worth his time. The supervised visitation center called to inform me that unless Tyler agreed to come, they couldn't force him. Angela, the social worker, sounded genuinely sad when she told me, sometimes kids need space to process. Don't give up. But what's the difference between giving space and giving up? How do you fight for someone who doesn't want you to fight for them? I went to the visitation center anyway that Saturday. Sat in the empty room for the full 4 hours. Angela checked on me twice, brought me coffee, said nothing. What was there to say? When my time was up, I asked her, has this ever worked? Have you ever seen a kid come back? Sometimes. If the parent does the work and doesn't disappear, kids need consistency, even in rejection. They need to know you're still there. So I came back the next week, and the week after, and the week after that. Empty room. 4 hours. Just me and the knowledge of what I'd thrown away. I started writing letters to Tyler. Not emails, actual handwritten letters that I gave to Sarah's lawyer to pass along. I didn't know if he'd read them. I didn't know if Sarah would even give them to him. But I wrote them anyway. Dear Tyler, I went to the park today and saw a dad teaching his son to ride a bike. I remembered teaching you to ride your tricycle. You were so proud when you didn't need my help anymore. I miss you, buddy. Love, Dad. Dear Tyler, I'm reading a book about dinosaurs because I know you love them. Did you know that some scientists think T-Rex might have had feathers? I thought you'd think that was cool. Love, Dad. Week after week. Letter after letter. Throwing messages into a void. I finally got to meet Lily in April when she turned 6 months old. Same supervised visitation setup. Same sterile room. But this time I was holding my daughter for the first time. She was perfect. Had Sarah's smile, the way her whole face lit up. She didn't know me. Didn't cry when I held her, but didn't reach for me either. I was just another stranger. Sarah came to the first visit. Had to, legally, since Lily was still nursing. She sat in the corner with her arms crossed, watching me like I was a threat. She's beautiful, I said. I know. Thank you for letting me see her. I didn't have a choice. Court order. Her voice was flat, emotionless. You get an hour. Don't waste it talking to me. I spent the hour holding Lily, singing her the same songs I'd sung to Tyler when he was a baby. She fell asleep in my arms, and for 60 perfect minutes, I pretended I was the kind of father who got to do this every day. When the hour was up, Sarah took her without a word and left. I sat there staring at my empty hands. My mom came to the next visitation. Said she wanted to see her granddaughter. But really, I think she wanted to make sure I was showing up. That I wasn't disappearing like David had. She held Lily and cried. She looks just like you did as a baby. Mom, why did you tell me he was dead? Why didn't you tell me the truth? She was quiet for a long time, rocking Lily gently. Because I was angry. Because I wanted him to be dead. And it seemed easier to kill him off than to explain that he'd chosen someone else over us. Over you. But I spent my whole life thinking he died. I mourned him. I know. And I'm sorry. But you want to know something? Even if I'd told you the truth, you still would have lost him. At least this way you got to think he'd loved you and death took him. Instead of knowing he loved you and left anyway. That wasn't your choice to make. No. It wasn't. She looked at me. Just like cheating on Sarah wasn't yours to make. But we made them. And now we live with them. She handed Lily back to me. Don't let her grow up wondering why you disappeared. Don't let Tyler grow up the way you did. Show up. Even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. I kept showing up. To the empty room for Tyler. To the hour with Lily. To therapy. To the life I destroyed. I started going to a support group for divorced fathers. Sat in a church basement every Tuesday night listening to other men talk about supervised visitation and child support and kids who wouldn't return their calls. Most of them had stories, abusive ex-wives, false accusations, systems stacked against them. Then there was me. I cheated on my pregnant wife and destroyed my family. The room got quiet. One guy, Mike, late 40s, finally said, "At least you're honest about it." What choice do I have? Plenty of guys blame everyone but themselves. Their wives, their girlfriends, their jobs. You own it. That's something. But owning it didn't make it hurt less. It didn't bring Tyler back. It didn't make Lily know who I was. David and I started meeting for lunch once a month. Strange, having a relationship with my father at 34 that I should have had my whole life. He told me about his marriage to Patricia, how it had been good at first but was built on the foundation of abandoning me. How that had poisoned everything. She resents me now, he said over coffee. Always has, I think. She got the man who left his son. What did that say about me? About her? We built a life on someone else's pain. Are you still together? Barely. The kids moving out showed us we don't actually like each other much. We were just busy enough to avoid it. He stirred his coffee. You asked me if it was possible to build something after destroying everything. The answer is yes. But what you build won't be the same. And it might not be good. So what do? You keep showing up. You help Tyler comes around. You build a relationship with Lily from scratch. You do better than I did. He met my eyes. And you forgive yourself eventually. Not today. Not soon. But eventually. Because you can't be a good father while you're drowning in self-hatred. I didn't know if I believed him. But I kept trying. In June, something changed. Tyler came to a visitation. He walked in holding Sarah's mom's hand, and when he saw me, he stopped. Just stood there staring. Hey, buddy. My voice cracked. I missed you. He didn't run to me. Didn't smile. But he came over and sat down at the table where I was sitting. Sarah's mom left us alone. Grandma says you come here every week. Even when I don't. Yeah, I do. Why? Never. Not for 1 second. I made a terrible choice, but it wasn't because I stopped loving you or mommy. It was because I was selfish and stupid and I wasn't thinking about anyone but myself. Grandma says Grandpa did the same thing to you. My throat tightened. Of course Sarah's family knew about David now. My mom had probably told everyone. Yeah, he did. Did you forgive him? I'm trying to. Tyler kept drawing. A house. A stick figure family. 2 adults. 2 kids. He drew himself and Lily. Then he drew Sarah. But where I should have been, he drew a blank space. I don't know how to draw you anymore, he said quietly. You're not in our house. You're not at dinner. You're not there when I have bad dreams. I know. And I'm so sorry. Mommy says you can't come back. That families don't work like that. Your mommy's right. He looked up at me, and his eyes were filled with tears. I miss you. But I'm also really mad at you. You should be mad at me. What I did was wrong. Are you going to leave forever like your dad did? And there it was. The thing I'd been terrified of. The cycle repeating. No. I'm going to be here every week. Even if you don't want to see me. Even if you're mad. I'm not going anywhere. Promise? I promise. We spent the rest of the hour drawing together. He told me about kindergarten, about his teacher Ms. Rodriguez, about his new friend Jackson. Small, normal things that felt like miracles. When Sarah's mom came to pick him up, Tyler hugged me. Quick, awkward, but real. Can I come back next week? He asked. Please. He came back. Not every week. But sometimes. And that was more than I deserved. The letters kept coming, but now I got responses. Crayon drawings. Misspelled notes. Dear Dad, I got a gold star today, love Tyler. Each one felt like forgiveness I hadn't earned yet. Lily started recognizing me by her first birthday. Would smile when I walked in. Reached for me. Small victories in a war I was losing slowly instead of all at once. Sarah and I were never friends. Would never be friends. But we learned to exist in the same space for custody exchanges. Brief, professional, cold. She started dating someone in the fall. I heard about it through Sarah's mom. It hurt in a way I didn't expect. Not jealousy exactly. More like grief for the life we should have had. I kept seeing David. Met Emma finally, my youngest half-sister. She was cold at first, angry on my behalf at a father I wasn't sure I had the right to be angry at anymore. But slowly, carefully, we built something. Not a family exactly, but something. Marcus told me once, you're the ghost that haunted our whole childhood. Dad would get sad around your birthday. Mom would get tense. We didn't know why until he told us. You were the price of our happiness. I'm sorry. Don't be. It's not your fault. It's his. But he's trying now. We both are. The years moved forward. Tyler started 2nd grade. Lily started preschool. I moved out of my mom's house into a small apartment. The supervised visitation became unsupervised. 4 hours became 8. 8 became every other weekend. Tyler still had hard days. Days where he'd cry and ask why I'd broken our family. Days where he'd tell me he wished I was dead like I'd thought David was. Those days carved pieces out of me that never grew back. Lily asked me once, when she was 4, why don't you live with us? Because Daddy made a mistake before you were born. And sometimes mistakes change everything. Can you fix it? No, sweetheart. Some things stay broken. She thought about that. That's sad. Yeah, it is. I watched Tyler's school plays from the back row. Watched Lily's dance recitals. Showed up to parent-teacher conferences that Sarah didn't want me at but legally couldn't exclude me from. I existed in the margins of my children's lives. Sarah got married when Tyler was 9 and Lily was 5. Nice guy named Marcus, ironically. Worked in education. Good with kids. Tyler liked him. Lily called him Marcus Dad to differentiate it from Dad. I smiled and congratulated them and went home and drank an entire bottle of whiskey alone in my apartment. David called that night, somehow knowing. You okay? No. Good. You shouldn't be. But you'll survive it. And you'll keep showing up. Does it ever stop hurting? No. You just get better at carrying it. Last month, Tyler turned 13. He's taller than Sarah now, plays basketball, has a girlfriend. We went to dinner, just us, and he asked me something I wasn't ready for. Dad, why did you do it? For real. Not the kid answer. The truth. I looked at my son, almost a man now, and gave him what he'd asked for. I felt invisible. Your mom was tired all the time with you and pregnant with Lily, and instead of talking to her, instead of being a partner, I looked for someone to make me feel important. I was selfish. I was weak. And I destroyed everything that mattered because I couldn't handle being uncomfortable for a while. Do you still love Mom? Part of me always will. But we're not those people anymore. What we had is gone. Was it worth it? The affair? God, no. I gave up everything for nothing. The woman I'd cheated with dumped me the second things got complicated. I destroyed our family for someone who didn't even care about me. He nodded slowly. I forgive you, you know. It took a long time. And I'm still messed up about it. My therapist says I have abandonment issues. But I forgive you. I started crying. In a restaurant. In front of my teenage son. Thank you. But I need you to know something. Want to have kids someday? I'm never going to do what you did. Or what your dad did. I'm breaking the cycle. Good. You should. We finished dinner. Hugged goodbye. And I drove home thinking about David. About the chain of abandonment that stretched back generations. About how Tyler had decided it ended with him. I called David when I got home. Told him what Tyler had said. He's a better man than both of us, David said quietly. Yeah, he is. Your daughter's lucky. She'll grow up knowing you. Knowing you chose to stay even when it was hard. She'll also grow up knowing I broke her family before she was born. Yes. But she'll know you stayed after. That counts for something. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. I honestly don't know anymore. I'm 41 now. Single. Moderately successful at work. Father to 2 kids who see me every other weekend and some holidays. Son to a father I met at 34. Brother to siblings I'm still learning to know. I'm not the villain in my story. But I'm not the hero either. I'm just a man who made a choice that detonated his entire life and spent the next decade sifting through the wreckage, trying to save whatever pieces he could. People ask sometimes if I'm dating. I'm not. I tried, a few years ago. Went on naps, had a few coffee dates. But every time, I'd think about Sarah, about what I'd lost, about the man I'd been when I'd destroyed everything. And I couldn't do it. Couldn't inflict myself on someone new. Couldn't risk becoming that person again. My therapist says that's trauma. That I've locked myself in a prison of guilt. Maybe. But it feels safer than the alternative. Tyler graduates high school in 5 years. Lily in 9. I'll be there. In the crowd. Cheering. Crying. Proud of who they've become despite me. Not because of me. David told me last week that he and Patricia are finally divorcing. 30 years too late. I wasted her life, he said. And mine. All because I was too afraid to face what I'd done. Are you going to try again? Dating? No. I think I'm done. I've hurt enough people. I understood that. We're alike that way, my father and me. We both learned too late that some mistakes don't get fixed. They just get survived. Sarah texted me yesterday. First voluntary text in years. Tyler told me what you talked about at dinner. Thank you for being honest with him. He needed that. It wasn't forgiveness. But it was something. An acknowledgement that I was trying. I think about Madison sometimes. Looked her up once out of morbid curiosity. She's married now, has a baby, lives in Portland. Looks happy. I wonder if she ever thinks about me. About the family she helped destroy. I doubt it. I was just a chapter in her life. A mistake she moved past. Dada was the story she told her husband about why she values loyalty. And Sarah was the story I ruined. Last week I went to my father's grave. The fake one my mom created. The stone she'd erected to maintain the lie. I hadn't been there in years, not since I'd found out he was alive. I sat there thinking about the man I'd mourned to never died and the life I'd killed that could never be resurrected. About Tyler's blank space in his drawing and Lily's question about broken things. My mom found me there. She's 70 now, frail, still carrying the weight of her lie in mine. I'm sorry, she said, for lying to you, for making you grow up thinking he was dead. I'm sorry too, for becoming him. You didn't. He ran away. You stayed. That's the difference. Is it? My kids still grew up without me there every day. But they knew you loved them. They knew you tried. That's more than you got. Maybe. But it didn't feel like enough. I see David next week. Lunch. Same restaurant. We'll talk about our kids, about our failures, about how we're both trying to die better men than we lived. It won't fix anything. But it's something. This is my life now. Every other weekend, Dad. Guilty phone calls. Supervised healing. Birthday parties where I'm the guest, not the family. Christmas mornings where I wait until afternoon to see my kids open presents I bought them in a house I don't live in with a family I destroyed. If I could talk to the man I was at 34, the one who kissed Madison and told himself it didn't matter, I'd say this: it matters. Every choice matters. That kiss, that lie, that moment you decided your comfort was more important than your family's trust, it all matters. And you don't get to undo it. You don't get a redemption arc where everything works out. You get years of fighting to be in your kids' lives. You get a son who forgives you but will never forget. You get a daughter who doesn't remember when you lived with her. You get to watch the woman you love marry someone else. You get to become your father despite trying not to. You get supervised visitation and child support and every other weekend and the knowledge that you threw away something precious for something worthless. That's what you get. And maybe, if you're lucky, if you show up every time, if you do the work and don't run away, you get Tyler saying I forgive you at 13. Maybe you get to meet the father you thought was dead and realize you're both drowning in the same pool of regret. Maybe you get to be at your daughter's wedding someday, standing in the crowd, not giving her away, but there. Still there. Always there. Even when you don't deserve to be. That's not redemption. That's just the price you pay for a mistake you can't take back. I'm 41 years old, and I traded my family for nothing. I've been alive this whole time, 30 miles away from the life I destroyed. And my kids grew up learning that the people who are supposed to stay don't always keep their promises. Just like I did.